They disrespected you. Maybe it was a laugh, maybe it was a tone, maybe it was a small jab designed to cut you down without leaving blood on the floor. And in that split second, you felt it, the urge to react, to defend yourself, to fire back. That urge is the trap. That urge is the reason most men are slaves to disrespect their entire lives. Because here is the brutal truth. Every act of disrespect is not just an insult, it is a test, a silent war over who stands above and who kneels below. And most men fail instantly because they play the fool's game. They bark, they beg, they explain, they spill their power into the hands of the very man who mocked them. But not you, not after this. What if I told you that the deadliest response to disrespect is not a word, not a threat, not even a movement, but a presence so cold, so controlled, the question is that it makes the attacker collapse under his own insecurity? What if I told you that silence, posture, gaze, and psychology can dismantle an enemy faster than any scream of rage? This is the strategy of Machiavelli. This is the war of dark psychology. And once you master these laws, you will never see disrespect the same way again. You will stop reacting like prey, and you will start ruling like a predator. On Dark Tactics, I am going to hand you 10 ruthless laws to crush disrespect without saying a word. Listen closely, because once you learn them, you will never be broken again. And if you are new on this channel, subscribe so you never miss the strategies that turn disrespect into your weapon and make you untouchable. When a man disrespects you, the first move is not in your words, it's in your eyes. Disrespect is not just sound, it's a challenge, a probe. The one who disrespects you is searching for weakness, scanning you for signs of fear, submission, or insecurity. Most men fail right here because they flinch, they look away, they shift, they break eye contact, and in that single instant, the hierarchy is decided. The predator sees the prey, but the Machiavellian man understands a darker law. The gaze itself is a weapon. Your eyes are the first battlefield. When you lock them onto your opponent with cold, unblinking precision, you strip away their illusion of control. They wanted to unsettle you. Instead, they are unsettled. They wanted you to feel small. Instead, they shrink under their own move. Niccolò Machiavelli knew that appearances define power. He wrote that men are judged more by the eye than by the hand, meaning what you project outward matters more than what you secretly feel inside. You can feel anger, you can feel insulted, but if your eyes remain calm, still and merciless, the world will not see weakness, it will see command. Think of the predator in the wild. The lion does not need to roar to make the hyena retreat. The stare alone is enough. The predator's gaze communicates one thing: I will not be moved. I am not your equal. I am your end. And human beings are not different. The gaze cuts deeper than words. It pierces the fragile armor of the one trying to disrespect you. This is why you must train your eyes as you train your fists. Stop looking away when confronted. Stop breaking your stare when challenged. Hold it, steady without emotion. The colder the gaze, the more unbearable it becomes for the fool who thought he could mock you. Eventually, he will be the one to look away. And when he does, everyone watching will know the truth. He lost. You won without speaking. The beauty of this strategy is its silence. You never give the enemy the satisfaction of reaction. You don't need to explain yourself. You don't need to defend yourself. Your gaze does the speaking, and it speaks with finality. Machiavelli would call this control over perception, ruling not with noise but with aura. The power of your gaze becomes your crown, your weapon, and your shield. Remember this: the moment you look away, you've admitted defeat. The moment you hold steady, you've declared war without sound. And in war, the one who controls appearances controls outcomes. Comment this phrase right now and make it part of who you are. My gaze is my weapon. Say it, write it, own it. Because when you master the predator's gaze, disrespect no longer lands, it withers in front of you. The fool who tried to test you becomes the fool who exposes himself, and you, standing cold and untouchable, rise above him without ever saying a word. Every battle begins in the mind, and most men lose before they ever step onto the field because their minds are not fortresses, they are open villages, unguarded, begging to be invaded. When disrespect arrives, they crumble inside. They feel the heat, they lose composure, and they start bleeding weakness without a single word spoken against them. But here's the Machiavellian law: the man whose mind is fortified is unconquerable. Machiavelli wrote in The Prince that the wise ruler must build defenses that no enemy can penetrate, and the same is true of your psychology. Disrespect only stings if your mind allows it in. The insult is meaningless. It is your reaction that gives it life. The weak man reacts instantly. The strong man builds walls. The fortress mind is built on one brutal foundation: indifference. You must kill the need for validation. You must sever the craving for approval. You must reach a point where another man's words, whether praise or disrespect, bounce off you like arrows against stone. That indifference is not numbness. It is discipline. It is the deliberate choice to never hand your enemy the keys to your inner state. Think about it. The reason disrespect hurts most men is because they are addicted to recognition. They want to be seen as strong, respected, admired. So when someone cuts them down, they panic. They feel exposed. But the Machiavellian man has already cut that addiction from his blood. He doesn't need the world to clap for him. He doesn't need applause to stand tall. His respect comes from within, carved, earned, and guarded. This is why the fortress mind terrifies people. When they insult you and you remain calm, when they disrespect you and you remain cold, they realize something. Their power does not reach you. They cannot touch you. They cannot bend you. And in that instant, they feel small. The fortress mind is not built overnight. It is forged through pain. Every insult you resist strengthens the wall. Every time you refuse to explain yourself, the wall grows higher. Every time you choose cold composure over emotional reaction, the wall thickens. Until one day you realize no one can reach you. The storm rages outside, but inside your fortress, there is only silence, control, and command. Machiavelli understood that control is power. He wrote that a ruler must never depend on the goodwill of others, but on his own strength. This is your law too. Do not depend on others for respect. Do not depend on their validation for peace. Build it yourself, behind your walls. Because once your fortress is complete, you cannot be moved. Right now, I want you to comment this phrase and burn it into your mind. My mind is my fortress. Repeat it. Because the moment your mind becomes a fortress, disrespect stops being a weapon. It becomes a joke. And you, untouchable, unbreakable, become the ruler of your own kingdom. Disrespect is never just an insult. It is an attack on rank. It is someone attempting to step on your neck and force you beneath them. Every smirk, every mockery, every interruption in your words is a declaration: I am above you. Most men don't understand this. They treat disrespect as random, as harmless, as just words. That ignorance is why they remain slaves in every room they walk into. The Machiavellian man sees it differently. He knows that every social exchange is warfare. Every interaction is a battle over position on the hierarchy. And the one who accepts disrespect without reordering the balance has already surrendered his crown. Here is the cold truth. The hierarchy is fluid, but it is always present. In your family, in your workplace, in your circle of friends, there is always a silent ladder of dominance. People instinctively know who sits higher and who sinks lower, and disrespect is the weapon used to drag you down. If you allow it, the perception becomes permanent, but if you crush it, you rise instantly. Machiavelli wrote that men must be either caressed or destroyed, for they will avenge slight injuries, but cannot do so to severe ones. That principle applies here. The man who tries to humiliate you with subtle jabs is waging war in disguise. If you respond like a desperate fool, barking back, you only confirm his power. But if you meet his disrespect with a response so cold, so commanding, so unshaken that he cannot recover, you destroy his position in the hierarchy. The strategy is not noise. The strategy is control. When someone disrespects you, don't scramble to prove yourself. You simply act in ways that flip the balance back onto them. A cold gaze that makes them stutter. A pause that makes the room uncomfortable. a posture so unshaken it exposes their nervousness. You do not rise to their level. You force them to collapse beneath yours. And here is where the true Machiavellian lesson reveals itself. The crowd is always watching. Disrespect is rarely private. Even when it is directed at you alone, others are observing how you handle it. If you react like prey, you confirm their doubts. But if you handle it like a predator, controlled, merciless, untouchable, you do more than silence one fool. You claim the respect of everyone else present. In that moment, the hierarchy bends. You ascend. This is the law of hierarchy warfare. Disrespect is not about feelings, it is about power. If you allow it, you sink. If you crush it, you rise. And the crushing is never done through desperation, but through the kind of cold presence that makes everyone understand you cannot be tested again. Write this in the comments now and burn it into your code. I rise by crushing disrespect. Say it. Because when you master hierarchy warfare, you stop being a victim of disrespect and become the ruler of every room you enter. Every act of disrespect has one hidden hunger behind it: attention. The man who disrespects you does not simply want to insult you, he wants to feed on you. He wants your energy, your anger, your validation, your time. He wants to drag you into his frame and force you to play his game, and most men give it to him. They argue, they explain, they defend, they spill their power into his hands. That is why most men lose before the fight even begins. But the Machiavellian man understands a darker principle. The one who controls attention controls the battlefield. When you refuse to give an enemy what he craves, you starve him. And starvation is far crueler than open conflict. Think about the parasite. It can only survive if the host keeps feeding it. Take away the nourishment, and it withers. Disrespect is the same. When you deny it reaction, it suffocates in silence. The attacker is left clawing at shadows, swinging at air, looking more desperate with every move. You don't fight him. You let his hunger eat him alive. Machiavelli wrote that men sooner forget the death of their father than the loss of their patrimony. What he meant was that loss of resources cuts deeper than anything else, and attention is the currency of every social interaction. Take it away, and you don't just injure your opponent, you bankrupt him. He feels invisible, irrelevant, insignificant, and no man can tolerate insignificance. This is why starving attention is so powerful. It is not passive, it is active cruelty. When someone disrespects you and you simply look at them with calm disinterest, or worse, ignore them entirely, you deliver the deepest wound possible. You tell them, without words, that they do not matter. Their attempt to cut you down is beneath notice. Their presence is weightless. Their words are smoke. And here is the psychological twist. When you starve one man of attention, everyone else watching takes note. They see that you are not easily moved. They see that no one can bait you into weakness. In a world of men desperate to be heard, you are the rare one who does not need to respond. That makes you magnetic. That makes you feared. That makes you respected. The weak man feeds his enemies by fighting them. The strong man starves his enemies until they disappear. One leaves exhausted, the other leaves untouchable. Anchor this truth into your identity right now. Comment it below and repeat it until it becomes your second skin. I starve disrespect to death. Because when you stop feeding fools with your energy, they wither. Their noise becomes silence. Their games collapse. And you, calm, cold, and commanding, remain standing as the only figure left worth listening to. That is the art of starving attention. Disrespect thrives on one thing: reaction. An insult lands, and most men reveal themselves instantly. A flash of anger, a forced smile, a nervous laugh, a tightening jaw. In that split second, the mask slips, and the enemy sees everything: insecurity, weakness, fear. That's all it takes. The predator now knows where to strike. But the Machiavellian man is different. He wears the mask. He never lets the enemy see his face break. He never reveals what cuts and what doesn't. His expression is cold, still, unreadable. and that unreadability is its own form of terror. Niccolo Machiavelli taught that a ruler must learn to be both the fox and the lion. The lion shows strength, the fox hides intention. The mask is the fox's gift. It is the ability to conceal, to withhold, to deny the enemy the information they are desperate to extract. When you show nothing, they know nothing, and the unknown frightens more than the known. The psychology is simple but brutal. Human beings are wired to search for cues. They study faces for weakness. They search eyes for cracks. They feed on micro-expressions like vultures. If you give them nothing, you force them into panic. They replay their words in their head, wondering if they struck you or missed entirely. The silence of your face becomes heavier than any spoken retaliation. Understand this. The mask is not fake emotion. It is controlled absence. It is the art of freezing your expression so it communicates one thing only: indifference. Not the indifference of weakness, but the indifference of superiority. The kind of indifference a king shows when peasants scream at the gates. Your mask tells the world, I am above this. I am not touched by your noise. I am untouchable. And here is the deeper Machiavellian touch. The mask not only protects you, it weaponizes doubt. The one who disrespects you begins to wonder, why didn't he react? Did he not hear me? Does he not care? Or worse, is he planning something colder, something I cannot see coming? Your stillness becomes the threat. Your lack of expression becomes the storm they fear but cannot predict. Most men fail here because they cannot resist showing their hand. They let emotions spill, and in that instant, they lose the game. The Machiavellian man understands that every twitch of the face is intelligence handed to the enemy, so he trains himself to remain cold, motionless, carved from stone. The less you reveal, the more powerful you appear. Burn this into your psychology right now. Comment it below so it sears into your identity. My mask makes me untouchable. When your face reveals nothing, when your mask is unshakable, disrespect collapses under its own weight. The enemy swings in the dark, blind, paranoid, defeated, and you, with your Machiavellian mask, remain the figure they cannot understand and therefore cannot conquer. Every act of disrespect is bigger than the moment. It is never just between you and the one who throws the insult. There are always eyes watching. There are always ears listening. And in those eyes and ears lies the real battlefield, because it is not just about crushing the one who tried you. It is about how everyone else interprets the exchange, and that interpretation shapes your reputation, your authority, your place in the hierarchy. This is where weak men collapse. They think they are only responding to one opponent. They don't realize the entire room is judging them. They bark, they rant, they defend themselves, and the crowd sees desperation. The insult itself doesn't matter anymore. What matters is how they looked scrambling to recover. In one instant, their authority is gone, not because of the words, but because of their reaction. The Machiavellian man plays a colder game. He knows the audience is the real prize. When someone disrespects him, he doesn't just deal with the fool in front of him. He performs for everyone watching. And his performance is not noise, it is control. His silence, his posture, his mask, his gaze, these become the message. He is showing the crowd something rare, a man who cannot be shaken. Niccolo Machiavelli wrote that men in general judge more by the eye than by the hand, for everyone can see but few can feel. This is the essence of turning spectators into allies. The insult may not cut you, but the crowd can't feel that. What they can see is your reaction. If you look rattled, they believe you are weak. If you look untouched, they believe you are strong. And in power, belief is everything. When you stand cold in the face of disrespect, the crowd silently sides with you. They may not say it out loud, but they mark you in their mind as the man who cannot be broken. Even those who doubted you start to lean toward you, because people naturally gravitate toward stability. They want to align themselves with power, not fragility. And when you display composure under fire, you prove you are the one worth following. This is the hidden advantage. Your enemy thought he was gaining dominance by mocking you. Instead, he has handed you the stage. His attempt to lower you becomes the platform that raises you. His disrespect becomes the spotlight under which you show the crowd exactly why you cannot be touched. Remember this law. The battle is not won with the enemy. The battle is won with the audience watching the enemy fail. I want you to declare this in the comments and burn it into your blood. The crowd will always side with my strength, because when you master this art, you stop fighting small wars. You begin winning empires. The fool who mocked you becomes forgotten. The room remembers you. The man who stood cold, unshaken, untouchable. That is how you turn spectators into allies. Every man who disrespects you thinks he is clever. He thinks his words cut deep. He thinks the smirk on his face puts him above you. What he does not realize is that the very act of disrespect plants the seed of his own collapse. Because once you master cold presence, you don't need to fight him. You simply let him destroy himself. Here is the truth. The fool who disrespects is always insecure. Always. He lashes out because he needs validation. He wants to prove himself to the room, to prove himself to you, or most of all, to prove himself to himself. He is not confident. He is desperate, and desperation always reveals itself under pressure. When you remain unmoved, when you stand there with the gaze of a predator and the mask of indifference, the fool's game begins to unravel. He expected you to react, to feed him energy. Instead, he is left choking on silence. He tries again, louder this time, pushing harder for a reaction. But every attempt exposes his hunger. The more he talks, the more the crowd sees his weakness. The man who wanted to look strong now looks like a clown dancing for attention. Machiavelli wrote that men should be either treated generously or destroyed because they take slight offenses and seek vengeance, but heavy ones they cannot. This is the destruction of the fool, not through loud retaliation, but through a wound so heavy it crushes him, the wound of being ignored, exposed, and made irrelevant in front of others. You didn't argue, you didn't defend, you didn't grant him recognition, and that silence is heavier than any insult. It is unbearable. The collapse happens slowly, then all at once. His laughter turns nervous. His tone grows erratic. He looks around for support, hoping others will join his mockery. But the crowd has already shifted. They see your composure. They see his desperation. And in that moment, they decide who is truly above. They withdraw their energy from him and unconsciously align with you. The fool stands isolated, drowning in the humiliation he created for himself. This is the Machiavellian brilliance of restraint. You let the fool fight against himself. You don't waste your power striking him. You conserve it while he bleeds out on his own sword. He set the stage, but you control the outcome, and when it's over, he learns the coldest lesson. Disrespecting you is not worth the cost. I want you to carve this law into your identity. Comment it below and make it part of who you are. The fool collapses by his own weakness. Say it again. Type it again. Because once you understand this, you will never chase after fools or waste energy proving yourself. You will watch them unravel, cold and calm, until they crumble in front of everyone. That is the collapse of the fool. And it is the sweetest victory you can take without moving a muscle. Before a word is spoken, before a glance is exchanged, before disrespect is even attempted, your body declares your rank. Posture is the first language of power, and most men betray themselves before the battle begins because their body whispers weakness while their mouth screams strength. Slouched shoulders, nervous hands, shuffling steps, these are the signals of prey. And predators can smell it instantly. Machiavelli wrote that men judge generally more by the eye than by the hand, for everyone can see and few can feel. Your posture is the first judgment the world makes about you. It doesn't matter what you say if your body contradicts it. If your stance says submission, your words mean nothing. The Machiavellian man understands that posture is not decoration, it is strategy. He stands like an emperor, even when no one is watching. His spine straight, shoulders back, chin level, movements deliberate. Nothing rushed, nothing fidgeting. He radiates stillness, and that stillness communicates dominance. The man who moves without hurry is the man who owns time, and the man who owns time owns everyone else in the room. Disrespect rarely lands on a man with emperor's posture because the body itself rejects it. When you stand tall and unshaken, the one who disrespects you feels smaller before the words even leave his mouth. The insult bounces off your presence because your presence tells the room you are not his equal. You are above him. This is not arrogance. This is architecture. You are building a physical fortress to match the mental one. Every movement should be calculated. No nervous shifting, no weak collapsing into chairs, no darting eyes. You sit as though the chair was a throne. You stand as though the floor belongs to you. You walk as though space bends to make way for you. That is the emperor's posture, calm, controlled, commanding. And here is the psychological law. People believe what their eyes see before they believe what their ears hear. A disrespectful man may throw his words, but if your posture doesn't move, if your stance doesn't break, if your breathing stays slow and steady, the crowd does not believe him. They believe you. Your body declares your authority louder than his words ever could. This is why posture is not optional. It is war armor. Every room you enter, you must wear it. Every encounter, you must project it. Because when your posture is unshakable, your presence silences disrespect before it even arrives. The fool who thought of mocking you begins to doubt himself. The room instinctively treats you with higher regard, and you, without saying a word, rule the hierarchy. Burn this into yourself now. Write it in the comments so it etches into your identity. I stand as an emperor. Say it with steel. Own it. Because the man who masters posture does not need to fight for respect. His body has already won the war before it begins. Disrespect is a weapon, but only if you let it cut you. The truth is, insults don't belong to you, they belong to the one who throws them. When someone disrespects you, they are not revealing your weakness, they are revealing their own. They are showing envy, insecurity, hunger for validation. The Machiavellian man knows this, and he does not block the attack. He reflects it. He becomes the mirror. Think of it like this. When a fool throws disrespect at you, he is handing you a confession. He is exposing the cracks in his armor, hoping you will miss them. The weak man takes it personally. He argues. He fights. He lets the insult become his burden. But the Machiavellian flips the dynamic. He lets the disrespect bounce back, forcing the attacker to face his own reflection. Machiavelli wrote that men judge generally more by the eye than by the hand. When you mirror disrespect with cold detachment, you let everyone else see the truth. They see the fool's insecurity magnified. They see that his words don't touch you, but instead reveal him. You have not reacted, yet the mirror makes him smaller by the second. Here is the brutal psychology. People project what they are. The man who mocks your strength secretly feels weak. The one who laughs at your discipline is enslaved by his own chaos. The one who calls you cold is terrified of his own fragility. When you become the mirror, you don't need to expose them. You let them expose themselves. Your silence, your posture, your mask reflect their weakness right back into their eyes. This is why the mirror is so lethal. It doesn't require noise. It doesn't require effort. It doesn't even require words. It requires only that you remain unmoved. The more they attack, the more obvious their desperation becomes. The mirror grows clearer with every word they spill, until eventually everyone in the room sees what you already knew. The disrespect was never about you. It was always about them. And the collapse is devastating. The crowd realizes it. The fool realizes it. His attempt at dominance has transformed into public self-destruction. He tried to humiliate you, and instead, he humiliated himself. You didn't fight. You didn't explain. You didn't lower yourself. You simply stood as the mirror, and the mirror revealed everything. This is the Machiavellian beauty of restraint. You win not by striking harder, but by letting the enemy fall on his own reflection. Burn this law into your identity right now. Write it in the comments so it becomes part of you. I am the mirror that breaks them. Say it with conviction. Because when you master the psychological mirror, disrespect stops being a threat. It becomes a spotlight, not on you, but on the weakness of the one foolish enough to challenge you. And you, untouched, stand above it all. Disrespect dies the moment it collides with a man who cannot be touched. Not because he fights harder, not because he screams louder, but because his very frame makes the attack meaningless. The untouchable frame is not about defending yourself. It is not about responding cleverly. It is about becoming so cold, so unshakable, that disrespect dissolves before it ever reaches you. Most men live in fragile frames. Their sense of worth is built on the opinion of others. A single insult cracks them. A single laugh breaks them. They are like glass, shiny on the surface, but one strike and they shatter. That is why they are ruled, ignored, and stepped over. The Machiavellian man builds differently. His frame is steel. His value does not depend on the crowd, on approval, or on outside recognition. He creates his own law and enforces it through presence. He does not wait for respect. He projects it. He does not beg for authority. He embodies it. His frame tells the world, I am not moved by your opinion. I am not swayed by your words. I am untouchable. Machiavelli wrote that a prince must build on his own foundations, not on those of others. This is the essence of the untouchable frame. Your foundation must be yours alone. If others respect you, good. If they don't, irrelevant. The fortress of your frame stands either way. This is why men fear those who cannot be insulted, because when your frame is beyond reach, the game is over before it begins. Here is the psychology. Disrespect only works if you let it enter, but when your frame is sealed, when your presence is carved from certainty, the insult bounces off like nothing, and the one who disrespected you feels smaller, weaker, foolish. He attacked a wall he could not scratch. He swung a blade against stone and broke his own hand. That is the untouchable frame. The untouchable frame is not arrogance. It is discipline. It is years of training your mind, your posture, your silence, your gaze, until they form a single shield. When you walk into a room, people feel it before you speak. They sense it in your composure. They see it in your stillness. They recognize it in the way you command space without effort. This is what separates kings from peasants. The king does not argue with disrespect. His frame crushes it before it's even spoken. And here is the final law. The man who controls his frame controls his fate. Nothing enters, nothing breaks him, nothing shakes him. He becomes the standard others measure themselves against, and they always fall short. Right now, I want you to write this phrase in the comments so it etches itself into your identity. I am untouchable. Say it again. Own it. Live it. Because once you master the untouchable frame, disrespect no longer exists. The fools collapse. The crowd aligns. And you, cold, unshaken Machiavellian, stand as the one man in the room who cannot be moved. You've walked through every law of cold dominance. You've seen how the predator's gaze freezes disrespect, how the fortress mind makes you unshakable, how hierarchy warfare flips the ladder in your favor, how starving attention suffocates your enemy, how the Machiavellian mask turns you unreadable, how spectators become your silent allies, how the fool collapses under his own insecurity, how the emperor's posture commands respect, how the psychological mirror exposes the attacker, and how the untouchable frame kills disrespect before it even reaches you. Now hear this. These are not tricks. They are not surface tactics. They are weapons of war. Each one is a law forged in the fire of Machiavellian realism, and together they do more than defend you. They crown you. The weak will keep reacting. They will keep barking, explaining, and chasing respect, and they will keep being ignored. But you are no longer like them. You are no longer prey. You are no longer blind. You are now the fortress, the emperor, the untouchable man. Machiavelli wrote that men should be either feared or loved, but never despised. The moment you master these strategies, you will never be despised again, because no one can despise what they cannot touch. They may envy you, they may fear you, they may even hate you, but they will never disrespect you. Your presence alone will forbid it. And here is the final command. From this day forward, you do not react, you do not beg, you do not defend, you enforce, you embody, you live these laws until they become your second nature. Because the world does not reward noise, the world rewards presence. Now I want you to carve this into stone by commenting it below. I am the untouchable. Say it once, say it twice. Say it until it burns into your psychology. Because the man who becomes untouchable is the man who becomes undeniable. This is dark tactics. If you're ready to keep sharpening yourself into the kind of man who cannot be broken, like this video, subscribe and turn on notifications, because this is just the beginning. The world will try to disrespect you tomorrow, next week, next year, but you will not bend, you will not break, you will remain cold, ruthless, and untouchable. The verdict is final. The crown is yours.